Alright guys, so jumping in to our current piece, we still have some paint left over from the last piece that we did, and we're just going to mix up some new paint for our banana piece. I did about 3 or 4 of these little 5x5s, plan to do a lot more and throw them up on the website. And I'm just going to use now some lemon, like a lemon yellow that I had laying around. It's a little bit more on the cooler side, if you know what I mean, as opposed to like cad yellow, cad yellow paint. But I'll use, the initial thought that I had going in was to use some of that for the some of the cad yellow for the shadow areas, some of the warmer yellows, and then using this sort of lemon yellow color for the highlighted and the medium tone areas, or the medium valued areas. Took some of that phthalo green color and mixed it with a bit of white there. And a touch of Prussian blue as well. And I'm just getting my colors situated now. Basically what I'm doing is mixing these up for potential use on the background of this piece. Took a little bit of orange and white there. That's just a cad orange hue. And some white. Get a nice little peachy color there. I'm guessing this cad orange has a bit more red than normal. I'm gonna add a touch of black there on the palette as well. Just a drop, that's all you need for what we're about to do, because this is going to be a very vibrant piece, so not going to be too many grayed out areas. Took a little bit of raw umber as well, mixed that in with the cad orange hue mixture. Going to take some more cad orange hue and just bring this over from the brown side to the orange side a little bit. Give it a bit more color. And these are what I'm going to use for the, these colors I'm mixing now is what I'm going to use for the background. What I had in mind was sort of this brownish, orangish, faded out color for the, or desaturated color for the background, and then I'm going to add different vibrant colors on top of that to get like a textured kind of background going, leaning more on the purples and blue sides to complement the yellow of the banana. So that's the initial idea. Of course, we're just going to play it by ear or by eye and see where we end up. So I got a nice desaturated orangish brown color now, so it's pretty good. Taking a little bit more raw umber, a little bit more of the cad orange hue, and just, you know, working it in to what we already have mixed, just to bring up the saturation, the color saturation up a little bit more. And while we have some time in the beginning here, I just want to thank all the new subscribers that we've gotten. Picked up about 400 or so new subs to the channel, so welcome to all of you guys. The support is greatly appreciated. Hope you enjoy what we have in store coming up for the channel. Taking our mixture now, we're just going to start blocking it in with a flat brush. Decent size relative to the canvas here, so we can get this portion done relatively quickly. Video is sped up a little bit, as you can see. Just did this to keep the length of the upload to a decent size. I think overall painting time on this piece was about an hour and 45 minutes or so. So sped it up a little bit so we can get a couple parts in relatively small, like 30-minute uploads. And as you can see, got a lot of paint on the brush, and using a sizable brush, so this block-in period is not going to be too long. Just getting all the white parts of the background covered. And this will be a good start for what we have in store. And as I said, don't, you know, when you're using acrylic paint, it's more of a layered process as opposed to like an alla prima when dealing with oils. But the reason I use acrylics is because it's flexible. I can still do like a wet on wet kind of thing if I wish. Just got to add the right amount of water. But for me personally, I prefer like a more layered style where I paint and I let it set in and dry a little bit, and then go on top of that with different transparencies and things of that nature. Just my personal preference, you know. You can do as you wish. Just refining all the edges a bit now, so we don't have to really worry about it too much later. And it's also Art Basel season for those of you who follow the art scene. Tons of people down in Miami as we speak, enjoying all the different works of art they have down there now. Been watching a few vlogs myself. Hope to maybe attend in the future sometime, maybe next year. We'll see how that goes. So now I took a little bit of my lemon yellow color and I added some raw umber just to deaden it or dull it down a bit. Drop the value and give it a more natural, earthy yellow vibe. Mixed it in really well there. Gonna cut off a piece of that now. I'm gonna add some Cad Red Light Hue, which is, you know, this brand that I'm using is similar to an orange, but it's a little bit more red, as you can see. So I'm just adding a little bit of that to warm it up just a touch. So you got like a warmish yellow, borderline orange color. Clean off our palette knife here now and Do a quick little spray of the palette to keep the paint wet. I always advise using a spray bottle when working with acrylics, just to keep everything at the correct moisture that you want. I'm going to grab some of this middle value now and start to drop some brush strokes in. I'm going to start working in the shadow area a bit. And yellow is this yellow I'm using is very translucent / transparent, so it's gonna take a bit to get this properly layered in to where you can't see the underlying canvas anymore. But that's part of what why I added the raw umber as well as the CAD red light to the other the far right mixture, because of trying to increase the opacity a bit as well. Just dropping in some of our lemon yellow color now. This is right out of the tube. I want to keep these colors sort of, you know, popish, sort of vibrant, because I want this to be a colorful piece. So a bit of a departure from what we usually do painting wise. You know, we have our set turquoise blue palette we usually work with, but wanted to switch it up this time around. Just filling everything out now. And also, just a tip, if you're watching this back and you need the video to be slower, you can always slow it down in the playback feature on YouTube, and, you know, drop it down to half speed or whatever it is that you need. But this is just a simple painting, so should be able to follow along relatively easily. But yeah, for those of you who are absolute beginners that are watching this, you can always just watch it through and watch it and then pause it or rewind it and then watch it at whatever slower speed, playback speed that you need, you know, for you. Using some of our warmer color now for this top layer. Gonna add a touch of raw umber, a little bit of that brighter orange there as well. Trying to do this stem area in a bit of a more brownish color. Grabbing some of this lavender color now, as well as some deep violet. And just dropping in a nice little shadow. Again, this is just the prelim, so our initial brush strokes. So, you know, not really looking to have things perfect. We're just putting in some placeholders so we can see where things lie composition wise. So just working out the shape now that we want for the shadow, and as you can see, we're using the reference that's in the top right, so we're just getting things in that general vicinity. Again, not really using the reference photo for exactness, we're just using it for the light scheme that's on the banana itself. We're going to do our own thing with the background, so we're just worried about the light and the shadow on the banana itself. That's all I'm paying attention to. Not doing the colors exactly as far as the yellow goes, and, you know, as I said, we're just taking the lighting scheme where the light or the highlights fall and where the shadows fall, and everything in between. Getting some of our mid-value color now. And I'm really attempting to like cake it on to the canvas, because as I said, the yellow is very transparent. So I'm working a lot of this raw umber yellow mix in to just kill out all of the underlying white canvas. Once we get this in, then we can do more of the neon yellow and white on top of this to really bring out those colors later on. So we're sort of working from the shadows to the light. Doing it this way strictly because of the opacity, or the translucent and transparent yellows. I don't think I've even ever actually, well, yes, I did do some yellow paintings back in the high school days a long time ago, but even so, they were like warmer yellows, not really this lemon yellow translucent color. But in recent times, I haven't really worked with the yellow too much, and so, you know, I'm learning as I'm going here as well. And so we've already got some of the more important areas defined on the banana. It's a good start so far. Dropping in it some of our mid-tone shadow color now as well on the underside of the banana, to just define out our shape a little bit more as we go. And that's kind of how I paint, you know, just chip away at it. The quick drying time of the acrylic paint helps in that area. Taking some raw umber now, mixing it in with the background color. Just getting a different value. It's more of a test to see what we can come up with, just to add a bit of variety in the painting or the background surface. Just testing it out in the shadow area as well. And then using the actual background color now to blocking some more layers on the canvas. Still working on the background now, and just we're going to clean up this shadow shape this cast shadow shape a bit. Taking some greens now. I think on the palette I had like a phthalo green and a hooker's green. Mixing that with a touch of yellow now just to drop some hint of this green color in towards the upper part of the stem area here, similar to what we have on the reference photo. And again, got this reference as well from onsplash.com, website there where you can get some copyright free references to work from. Good to do some practice pieces with, I'd say. And just using a smaller flat brush now just to, again, put some more layers on for the underside of the banana area. If you follow me on Instagram or other social media as well, you'd have already seen the final result of this piece. I promised that I was going to do a tutorial for it though, so that's why we are here. But yeah, this piece is already finished. Got a good response. People loved it, loved the vibrant nature of it, so I think I'll do a few more of these in the future as well. It's a good way to switch up from all the more elaborate pieces that I do. Right now I'm working on a pretty big 30 by 40 landscape as well. So doing things like this in between is a good way to break up the monotony, because you can sort of get lost in those bigger pieces. And again, this is color-wise, this is different from what I normally do, so it's a good way to learn and experiment with some new palettes and color variances, things of that nature. Taking some of our lemon yellow color now with the white and trying to define out our highlighted areas a bit more. Just putting some gingerly, or just gingerly putting these brush strokes on. You know, just touching the canvas and seeing how the paint falls. Using the flat brush, of course, for most of this. Nice sizable flat brush is good to just cut into edges and redefine stuff. Probably my favorite brush to use, I'd say. But again, if you want different sort of effects, you would you know, switch up your brush and brush strokes. But this is just the way I paint, so works for me. Taking some of our regular background color now that we originally mixed and dropping it in. I think I added a touch of white as well, so you're getting a little bit more lighter value. and we're doing that just for variety's sake. I'm gonna let that set in now and get back to work on the banana itself. Just putting more layers of this yellow, because as I said, at this point I'm still wasn't comfortable with the current opacity level of the yellow paint, so we're just layering again. Mixing some of the lighter value in with it now as well. Lining it up with the titanium white. And just dropping that in. And so now we're kind of getting to the point where we are going to be comfortable with the opacity that's coming forth. I think we got a nice bunch of layers on. Still not where we want to end up, but you know, at this point we can start focusing more now on some minor details. We can start our initial work on the details because we're refining this, and it's looking better and better as we go with each new layer added. It's getting closer and closer to what we want. And also I did want to leave this in a more loose style. So we're taking now just a round brush and sort of blending and mixing the paint while it's still relatively wet on the canvas to smooth things out, smooth out some of the brush strokes just a tad. But yeah, this yellow is interesting to work with. Has its own little nuance. I've figured that out over the years painting. Every color you sort of have to like get acquainted with, because they all operate somewhat differently. Things you can get away with one color, you can't really get away with it with another. So any type of palette you wish to use, some experience goes a long way in determining how you should use whatever color you decide to use to execute whatever vision you're trying to portray as well. Using some of that raw umber now, trying to get a darker value closer to the base or the underneath portion of the banana now. And then we're going to take our clean round brush now and just blend that in. Using our finger to fix the shadow shape a bit. Still just keeping it loose for now. By the time we get done, it'll be the correct shape that we need. And just putting paint on the canvas there, and then just using a clean round brush to blend it in. A good way to drop the value a little bit on the canvas itself as opposed to mixing it on the palette first. There's different ways you can use to or different paths you can use to get to wherever it is you want to go. That's one of the beauties of painting. It's a lot of ways to execute your plan. Just choose the best one for you. Grabbing some of our background color now, I'm going to readjust the shape of the shadow again, just by cutting into it with the background color itself. Working somewhat negatively here, but again, it's a different path, but it still works, still gets the job done. And we're just bouncing from area to area. Sometimes we work on the stem as we're doing now. Sometimes we work on the actual body of the banana. And then sometimes we hit the background or the shadow area. And we, jump from area to area to allow each layer to dry as we work on something else. And it's never going to be fully dry in this stage. It'll just, grip the canvas a bit more than if we didn't paint this way, if that makes sense. Just using a liner brush here now. Got some of the lemon yellow and the titanium white. And just dropping in some bold little highlights. This again will be just a placeholder. At this current stage, there may be too bright, but once we get closer to the end, we'll look and adjust as we go. Can always make it brighter, can always dull it down a bit. So when you paint, you just take a good guess, use your eyes and your knowledge of painting and try to get within the vicinity of what you're trying to accomplish paint wise, whether it's with the value or with the saturation or the color itself, and then you just adjust up or adjust down. That's sort of my workflow. So if you're a new painter, kind of lost in the sauce, that's a good way to approach acrylic painting. Make your best educated guess, then adjust up or down as you go. Maybe this value needs to be brighter, maybe it needs to be a little bit more dull, maybe it needs more saturation, maybe it needs to be desaturated a bit. Learning how to do all of those things with paint is one of the key elements. Lightening up this mid-tone a bit now with some of the lemon yellow from the tube, and we're just going to chunk over a nice layer now. We're doing this, of course, again because we need the yellow paint out of the tube to be a bit more opaque. So we're just, as you can see, it's working. 50 million layers later. Getting a nice rich yellow onto the canvas. Using some of the darker value now as well. Just redefining our shapes constantly over and over again. Our shadow shapes, our mid-tone shapes, or highlight shapes. Because these varying values is what gives it form, you know. So you want to have the shape down and you want to have the value correct. Just doing some crisscross brush strokes now. Trying to weave that paint on to the canvas as well. Correcting a little bit of the shape now as well. And things are looking pretty decent at this point. Using like a smaller, I guess you could call this a flat brush. Taking a hint of that phthalo green now to get this stem color a bit more greenish. And dropping that in. It's of course mixing in with some of the paint already on the canvas, but that's kind of what we want. Got to pay attention to that and take that into account when you're mixing as well. So if you don't want any issues to arise, you can just wait until the paint dries a little bit more before applying any new layers. But more often than not, you can just, you know, do it as you go and you should be fine. So I think this is where we're going to leave part 1. Be sure to come back to the channel for part 2. Check out my Teespring account, guys. Link is down below, teespring.com/store/RoryReidArt. Follow me on all social media. All my links are down below. I'm on TikTok and Instagram. Also, like and subscribe to this channel. It helps the channel out a lot to get the videos out to more viewers. So I'll get working on part 2 and see you guys next time. Take it easy. Peace.